This might sound strange, but some of the busiest pedal clubs are the weakest businesses. They look packed, they feel popular, and financially, they're fragile. That's because pedal clubs don't fail when nobody shows up. They fail when everything looks fine until it suddenly isn't. If you run a pedal club, or you're thinking about building one, you've probably had this thought at some point. Are we actually doing well, or does it just feel busy? Because pedal is a weird business. You can have a full car park and still be bleeding cash. And you can have a small forecourt club that never looks too flashy, yet quietly makes money every single month. The difference usually comes down to this. A healthy pedal club isn't about hype. It's about utilization, yield, and people coming back. So in this video, I want to show you what a healthy pedal club actually looks like, using real benchmarks and numbers you can observe from the outside. Published prices, visible availability patterns, and reputation signals like Google reviews. And just to be clear up front, we're not using anyone's private revenue dashboards. We've done analysis on publicly available data. So think of this as a practical way to judge club health using numbers you can actually see. Let's start with the one that matters more than anything else, utilization. A pedal court is like a hotel room. If it's empty at 7 p.m. tonight, you can't sell that hour tomorrow. And that's why utilization is the oxygen of the business. You'll hear a lot of vague advice like aim for high occupancy, but few operator guides actually put numbers around it. One commonly referenced benchmark is 60 to 70% utilization during peak hours, and formal business plans for forecourt clubs often project average occupancy around the mid-50s when things are working properly. So what does healthy look like in real life? Peak hours feel tight. Not impossible, but it's usually pretty hard to book more than a few days ahead. Overall utilization in the 40 to 60% range is a solid signal for many clubs, assuming pricing and costs make sense. But here's the trap. Overall utilization is only one part to the puzzle. You can inflate occupancy by underpricing, discounting too aggressively, or filling courts with low margin formats. The booking grid can look great, but the bank account really doesn't, which is why utilization only matters if it's happening at the right price. And that brings us to yield. Healthy clubs don't just fill courts, they protect their most valuable time slots. And this is where a lot of clubs sabotage themselves. They set one flat price, they panic discount, and they lock prime evening hours into poorly priced blocks that never get revisited. Strong clubs do the opposite. They charge more when the demand is naturally high, they're careful with membership perks so they don't destroy peak pricing, and they push discounts into off-peak hours where they actually help instead of cannibalizing prime time. So here's a simple health check you can do on almost any club. Look at weekday evenings, Saturday mornings, Sunday afternoons, one random weekday midday slot. Then compare the hourly price, how quick those slots disappear, whether premium demand is matched with premium pricing. If peak time is wide open and priced high, then the demand is soft. If peak time is always full and priced cheaply, you're leaving money on the table. Healthy clubs sit in the middle. Peak times are usually tight, but not impossible. Next, we have the weekly shape with spikes versus stability, and this is where struggling clubs start to really stand out. Most pedal clubs have a predictable rhythm. Monday to Thursday evenings are strong, Friday evenings are strangely inconsistent, weekend mornings are strong, and weekday middays are often dead. A healthy club doesn't magically eliminate dead zones, that's just not going to happen, but it finds ways to monetize them. Across emerging pedal markets, formats like leagues, coaching sessions, and social play consistently show up as the tools operators use to pull people into the quieter hours. So when a club is healthy, you usually see leagues or ladders anchoring midweek nights, coaching sessions running in off-peak slots, and social formats that remove the friction of trying to find 3 friends. This isn't marketing fluff, it's how empty hours turn into real revenue, and it leads to one of the most misunderstood truths in pedal economics. Courts are the base, not the full business. A lot of new clubs start with a very simple model. We rent out courts and people will come. Sometimes that works for a while, but operator breakdowns across multiple markets keep landing on the same conclusion. The strongest clubs stack revenue streams, and that usually means coaching and academies, leagues and events, memberships, food and beverage, pro shop sales, and corporate bookings. But why does this matter? Because pedal is seasonal in many regions, because court supply is increasing fast, and because court-only revenue is fragile once competition shows up. Healthy clubs aren't usually just busy, they're resilient. If one stream dips, then another can carry the load. As a quick side note, I've created a free PDF that's in the description and pinned comment below, which includes the cost to build a paddle club across 10 locations around the world. It might be useful if you're on this journey or are just curious. Anyway, let's jump to reputation, a signal that actually matters. Instagram can show launches, it shows tournaments, it shows packed opening weekends, but what it doesn't show is retention. But retention leaves fingerprints. One of the few public signals that hints at whether people actually are coming back is reputation. Ratings, reviews, and what people complain about. A healthy club usually shows a strong rating with real review volume, consistent comments about organisation, staff, atmosphere, and vibes, and very few complaints about chaos, broken courts, messy bookings, or uncleanliness. Those kinds of issues don't just hurt the vibe, they kill repeat behaviour, and repeat behaviour is the whole economics behind the game. If I had to boil paddle club health into a simple dashboard, it would be looking like this. Peak tightness. Are weekday evenings and weekend mornings regularly hard to book? Overall utilization. Is the club plausibly running around 50% overall, not just spiking occasionally? Pricing power. Can they charge more in premium hours without demand collapsing? Weekly smoothness. Do leagues, coaching, or socials fill quieter periods? Revenue diversity. Is there meaningful income beyond court hire? And reputation. Strong Google Maps ratings, real reviews, and consistent operational praise. If a club ticks 4 to 6 of those, it's usually pretty healthy. But if only 1 or 2 wins, it can be struggling. Growth doesn't guarantee health. And this is where the paddle boom messes with people. Courts and clubs are still expanding rapidly in many markets. There's new builds, new launches, new supply everywhere. But growth can hide weak economics. A new club can look incredible for 6 months, and then another facility opens nearby. Suddenly your peak isn't peak anymore. Healthy clubs are built for that moment. They don't assume demand will save them. They build systems that earn demand every single week. So if you're watching this as a player, here's the interesting part. The clubs you love the most, the ones that feel organized, social, effortless, are often the ones with the strongest business fundamentals behind the scene. Because paddle isn't just a court sport, it's an experience business. Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next one.